This is AI.R. Artists in Residence Broadcasting, coming to you once a week from New York City. Hello, I'm John Cullum, and this is my wife, Emily Frankel. And we're going to talk to you about what?
Your sinful behavior in your youth.
Dear God.
No. Your sinful behavior was everybody's sinful behavior. There was a time where smoking and drinking was what all actors did.
Yeah, all artists, writers.
Famous actors were drinking and smoking like crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
So, how did you happen to give it up?
Well, it was more interesting how I started.
Okay, how'd you start?
Well, my dad was a smoker, but I did not smoke until I was about 20 or 21. And it started, I must have been when I was 18, because it started at the university in a play where everybody was supposed to front page. So it had to be when I was 18. And everybody was smoking, and they smoked on stage, and everybody carried a cigarette in those days.
In movies, off movies, all the time.
That's right. And so I just naturally picked it up because it was a wonderful prop to use on set. And that's how I started. And as far as the drinking, that didn't start until I was about 20, 21. And
you have to explain that you were from a family
that frowned on some drinking. Nobody
more than frowned.
Yeah, it was not just illegal; it was immoral.
Was it teetotaler? Were you teetotalers?
Yes, my dad was a drinker, but I didn't find out about that until when he was a young man. He was a drinker.
Okay.
And but I had my first drink on stage during a performance. I told him I can't drink this beer unless if you're going to have beer, I won't drink it. But you have to get some kind of substitute. And they said, sure, yeah. And then when it happened on stage, there was the beer, and I, as an actor, I just decided I better go ahead and do it.
Well, do you think that set you on the wrong track, or was it merely that was what people did in those days?
Well, because it was so much of a taboo, and because we didn't have any experience in my family of drinking at all, Southern Baptist, we're not supposed to drink.
Well, jump ahead now, a hunk of years.
Well, I'm just going to say that I probably became a hard drinker because I thought that's the way you were supposed to. I thought everybody who drank were hard drinkers. And I became a hard drinker.
And then the Richard Burton days did encourage you.
Oh, yeah. Everybody drank on stage, off stage, and everywhere else, in the dressing rooms. And most of the actors had liquor sitting on their dressing room tables. I certainly did. But we didn't have to because Richard held court in his room, and drinks flowed freely down there.
Well, tell about giving it up.
Well, I guess you have to enter into the fray here because...
Well, J.D. and we put it to you.
Yeah. They actually said to me one time, you had talked to a psychiatrist or a therapist, and so had J.D., and I remember you both ganged up on me one night and said that you had been informed that it was impossible for me to stop drinking without help. And when I heard that, it pissed me off so much that I stopped. And I didn't drink after that.
And how'd you give up smoking? Same sort of way.
Well, in a way.
Smoking was harder, though, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and I knew that smoking was going to kill me, so I kept trying to quit, and I quit for a year and then went back on it. And then I quit for 2 years once and went back on it. And then I was on the verge of quitting again. So J.D. and would hear you and I talking about it, and he heard us talking about all the different reasons why you should stop smoking. Anyway, I remember coming home from, must have been on the 20th century, and J.D. was in the car, just a kid, a young kid, very young, and he started jumping on me because I was smoking a cigarette in the limo, and he said, "Dad, you've got to quit smoking." And he started listing all these different reasons that he'd heard us talk about. And I thought, oh, yeah, of course, sure. And then he ended up by saying, "And Dad, you've got to quit because you love me." And I thought,
And that did it.
that's when I quit.
So John Cullum's drinking days were stopped because he loved me.
That's right.
And his smoking days were stopped because he loved JD.
That's absolutely the truth.
John, I like you.
Well, I'm glad you do. You'd have had a hard time if you didn't like me, because we've been together for a long time. And I don't intend to let you go.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening to our post.
Yes, it was a pleasure being with you, and a pleasure being with you, Em.
Signing off.
This is AI.R. See you next week.